For the next 3 days, we travel on foot during the day and make camp at night. Leanna continues my casting trainings, but I've made no progress. I've begun to feel discouraged, and although she tries hard to hide it, I can sense the frustration Leanna feels. Why am I having such a difficult time casting? There must be something I'm missing. Since Leanna won't give up on my trainings, I resolve to push past my disappointment and continue to focus myself. Are we really not going to ask Amelia at all? Like, with how studious she is, she might know something. On the 4th day, we travel the entire day and set up camp in the evening. As we've done in all our past trainings, Zach, Kara, and Amelia take care of the setup, while Leanna and I find an open area to train. I still dread whenever it's time to train as I haven't shown any progress. It's starting to feel like a useless chore at this point. You know, you can't say things like, it's starting to feel useless, it's starting to get discouraging, it's starting blah blah blah, when you were immediately complaining from the get-go, the very first training session.
Ready?
I reluctantly nod.
Alright, just like we've practiced, focus on channeling through the manipulator.
As I've done so many times before, I try to do exactly what Leanna says. Just like all of my previous attempts, it doesn't work.
You've got this. You just have to focus.
I'm focusing. I strain with all of my might, simultaneously trying to figure out what exactly I'm supposed to be focusing on, and wondering if this is all actually bogus anyway. Leanna watches me intently, waiting for the spark of magic which doesn't appear. I let go and breathe out in frustration.
Try again.
Have we considered the possibility that only humans from Terra can cast? Leanna's voice is firm.
Just try again.
With a heavy sigh, I bring up my hand again and try again. As is expected, nothing happens. This is completely pointless. I lower my hand. Maybe I'm just not meant to cast. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind pushes me off my feet and knocks me to the ground. Ugh. Leanna glares at me, a fierce look on her face.
Get up.
Alright, I wouldn't have been down if you hadn't pushed me. I cough as I catch my breath and push myself to my feet. What the heck? Leanna raises her arm again.
Deflect this.
Okay. Deflect. What does she mean by deflect? Oh, that was a question. I can't use my sword to stop a gust of wind. I end up taking another hit and sway unsteadily on my feet.
I said deflect.
I balk at the sternness in her tone. Her entire demeanor has changed from a calm and patient teacher to a dangerous mage knight. What's gotten into you? She ignores me and aims another shot of magic. This time I jump out of the way, but she's relentless. She lines up another shot. I don't know what you mean by deflect. Leanna sends another gust after me, which I only narrowly dodge. Before I can get my bearings, another shot of magic comes at me. And then another. Would you just... and another. Hold on! And another. My breathing is short and anger warms my blood. She's shooting off wind blasts so quickly I don't have time to think or move. Her attacks are relentless and keep knocking me down. Another gust of wind soars toward me. Leanna, stop! I take that blast, and although it's just as powerful as the others, this time I maintain my footing.
That's not deflecting.
She frowns in concentration as she ramps up another attack. Then she lets loose another gust of wind. I try to block it with my arms, but this blast is stronger than the last, and it hurls me into the air. I crash painfully on the ground, but force down the pain and get back onto my feet. My breathing is ragged and my body is sore. Leanna is already channeling another attack. I don't know what's gotten into her, but I can't keep taking these hits. As she launches another attack, the anger bubbles inside of me and boils over. I throw out my hand and feel the anger shoot down my arm and out of my glowing manipulator in a gust of wind which knocks the blast away. Leanna gasps and drops her attacks.
You did it!
I stare at my arm, too bewildered to even comprehend what is happening. Suddenly, Leanna is laughing loudly. As things calm down, I notice the rest of the group is already here. They must have heard the commotion.
He casted?
Leanna grins broadly.
He did! He finally cast!
I did it!
That's amazing!
That wind magic. It came from me. The realization slowly dawns on me. I casted that. My eyes grow wide and I split into a huge grin. Yes! I can't believe I did it! Leanna's grinning from ear to ear. Even Zack cracks a small smile and nods. Amelia watches us curiously.
I assume you used the technique which we had previously discussed.
Okay, good. We did seek out, or she sought out Amelia's aid at least. Wait, what? Leanna looks sheepish and refuses to make eye contact. What technique? The high from my casting begins to wear off, and I remember the mix of anger and confusion I felt from the attacks. You mean you guys thought it would be a good idea to randomly just start attacking me? Leanna shakes her head, looking a mixture of worried and guilty. Amelia calmly responds.
Indeed.
I didn't expect her to so bluntly agree. Why?
You were making no progress on your training, and I believed a new strategy was necessary. One such method is to utilize the ingrained need for survival. When placed in high stress, dangerous situations, the human body will use all its resources to ensure survival. By putting you in such a situation, your response to protect yourself enabled you to tap into the manipulator and channel energy.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I consider what Amelia said. Everything happened so fast, but once I realized there was no way to talk my way out of Leanna's attacks, I knew there was only one way out.
I'm really sorry. Amelia felt this was the best way for you to learn since you didn't seem to be getting it my way.
No, I agree. Like, that makes sense to me. You know, when I wasn't given time to focus and I just had to act, like something had to happen. She trails off.
I hope I wasn't too hard on you.
It's okay, I get it. Please be gentle next time. It was effective. Obviously, I'm not that happy to have been surprised by this, but I will admit that it's an effective method. Leanna looks hopeful.
Does that mean you forgive me?
I nod. She smiles as she sighs in relief. So, what now? Should I try it again?
Are you feeling up to it? If you need to take a break, we can do that.
I think I should be okay. As the words leave my mouth, my arm stings and I feel a wet spot on my elbow. When I look down, I notice blood on my shirt. Leanna gasps.
You're bleeding!
Yeah, I am! I twist my arm, trying to see the damage. You don't say.
Hold on, I brought bandages.
It's really no big deal. She races back to camp and grabs a roll of gauze from her pack. When she returns, she kneels beside me and reaches for my arm. I move my arm out of her grasp. I'm okay, really. This is just a scratch. Based on the level of bleeding, I can tell it's a bit more than a scratch. So can Leanna. She shakes her head.
It's my fault you got hurt.
Yeah. Without taking no for an answer, she grabs my arm and takes a look. This time I don't bother resisting. Gently, she dabs at the blood with a damp cloth. I try not to wince from the sting.
I'm sorry. I'll try to be gentle.
You're fine. Her hands are warm and delicate, and for a moment, I forget what she's doing and can only feel her touch. Her gentle fingers deftly wrap the gauze around my arm. After she secures it, she lets her hands fall back in her lap. I feel a split second of disappointment as I let my own arm fall beside me.
There, good as new.
You didn't have to do that. Kiss it better, please. Thanks. I move my arm back and forth experimentally. The gauze holds pretty well. Thanks. She smiles warmly.
No problem.
Ah! She's gone! I get to my feet and we return to camp. After we've all had a chance to eat and relax, we get ready for bed. For once, as soon as I lay down my head, exhaustion overtakes me and I fall right to sleep. Happy sleep time music! And I'm getting a drink. I think part of the reason this game feels like it takes a lot longer when I record it, like when I was at the 50-minute mark, I think, in this recording session, I thought it had been quite a bit longer than that. I think part of it is just because I'm constantly engaged in the sense that I'm like talking all the time. That might be part of it. It definitely makes me more thirsty. So yeah, we wake up the next morning and continue our travels. After my last burst of magic, I've tried to replicate that feeling of casting. Although I'm finally seeing improvement, I still can't cast as well as I hope. The result of my casting is just a weak tendril of magic, but at least it's something. Leanna's spirits have been lifted too, and she continues my training with renewed enthusiasm. A couple of days pass before the trees become denser as we reach the woods. We must be on the right track. At first, the walk is easy as the trees line out. line a well-worn path, but the deeper into the forest we traverse, the more careful we become of our step as the wild undergrowth tangles our legs. The Pongo wobbles unsteadily over the roots and debris on the ground, then hops onto my shoulder.
Boy.
The canopy overhead thickens, blocking out much of the sunlight. Leanna glances uneasily around her. Noticing Leanna, Zack glances around too and becomes grave.
I think we stumbled into the Forest of Grieving.
Oh. Leanna bogs.
Grieving?
The Pongo looks concerned. It is bogs, right?
Boy.
Zack nods. Kara looks curiously at Zack, then watches Leanna Kara looks curiously at Zack, then watches Leanna gaze suspiciously around her. She seems to put two and two together and grins mischievously.
Isn't that the one with all the trapped souls?
Kara. Leanna's eyes widen and her voice trembles.
Trapped souls?
Is every forest in this place haunted? Go along, he's teasing. Spooker. Wait, he's teasing? Who's teasing? Was Zack teasing? You know, I'm not gonna go along with it because I wouldn't know anything about this world. I'm not gonna ruin their fun necessarily, and I'm not gonna scare her. But I'll ask this, because, you know, so far, yeah. Is every forest in this place haunted? My eyes widen. This forest is haunted too? Why is every forest haunted? Zack and Kara share a glance and hide a smile. What? What is it?
Do you want to know why they're trapped?
Leanna vigorously shakes her head.
Nope, I do not want to know. In fact, none of us want to know.
So there's just nothing. Amelia puts her hands on her hips.
Evidently, Zack, you were misinformed, as there is no such place as the Forest of Grieving.
No, there definitely is a Forest of Grieving. Right, Kara?
Absolutely.
If that is true, it is certainly not here.
Leanna pouts, her face bright red.
You guys are the worst.
She rushes closer to Amelia and pointedly ignores Zack and Kara, who pretend to hide their amusement. Wait, they pretend to hide their amusement? Oh, they pretend in order to hide their amusement? That's weirdly phrased. The Pongo shoots the two of them dirty looks.
Boy.
That's right, Pongo.
She scoops him into her arms and hugs him into her chest. The Pongo doesn't protest. We continue to walk in silence. As we venture further within the forest, the air feels thick and heavy. The canopy thins out, but the trees themselves have knotted and thick bark, making them seem very old. They brighten with an ethereal blue-green luminescence. Does anyone else feel that? The Pongo squirms in Leanna's grasp and hops out before exploring the forest.
This place is loaded with magical energy.
Is that why it's glowing?
The natural formation of crystals is what gives it its coloration.
I take my time admiring the natural beauty of the place. It feels like a scene from a fairy tale. Peeking out from behind a tree is a small pink Pongo. My Pongo hops over to her, and when she realizes she's been spotted, she hops out into view and tilts her head curiously.
Boy.
The pink Pongo looks over at Leanna and gives her a wide grin. Leanna gasps as it hops closer to her.
How cute!
Do you get a Pongo too now? She reaches out towards the pink Pongo, who hops into her arms.
Aw, she likes me.
Leanna squeals excitedly and hugs her close.
Boy.
There's a green one! Another Pongo peeks out from behind a bush and hops over to Leanna. Her grin grows even wider. She opens her arms and the Pongo hops in, much to Leanna's delight.
Another Pongo.
Boy.
More Pongo!
What?
Even more Pongos pop out from behind the trees and bushes and begin to surround Leanna, who watches them with joy.
So many Pongos.
She reaches out to all of them and they each openly receive her affection.
Boy.
Oh, look at all the Pongos! She's so happy! It looks like she's about to cry from how happy she is, actually. The chorus of poise increase as even more emerge, and soon even Leanna is overwhelmed by the sheer number of Pongos. They're even like little hearts. Look at the green one, like near the top left corner. He's like, poi, poi. He's having fun. I want to pat him on the head. Zack stands as close to the edge of the trees as possible and as far away from the pongos as possible, because his discharge is right. His hands hover protectively over his dischargers as he eyes the pongos suspiciously. Amelia moves from pongo to pongo, seemingly studying the variations. Kara joins in and plays with the pongos closest to her. As even more pongos filter out into the clearing, Leanna's eyes fill with tears. Oh, she did start crying.
Too many pongos.
Oh no. Leanna, are you okay? Her smile is still as wide as ever as she kneels on the ground, holding as many pongos as she can in her arms, but the tears continue to flow. She is a pongo lover, and she likes to run. She speaks between sobs.
I can't hug them all.
Is it actually a reference to that, then? Oh, that's awesome. I think it really is a reference to that. The cat lover, that's great. Kara comes over and puts a comforting arm around her. If you don't know that, you can look that up. I think Shmo Yoho did a remix of it too. Like, so if you looked up cat lover Shmo Yoho, it's funny. Anyway, Kara comes over and puts a comforting arm around her.
It's okay. Just hug as many as you can.
Leanna sniffles and nods. My pongo looks up at me with a wondering gaze. Stay by my pongo. Join in on the fun. Ugh, too many pongos. I don't want little pongo to be jealous. I look down at him and smile. Don't worry, you're the only pongo I need. He beams and hops into my arms, then nuzzles me affectionately. From among the pongos emerges a pongo larger than the others. He has a twist of leaves which he wears around his head, and as he passes, all the other pongos seem to settle down in reverence. He pauses in front of Leanna.
Boy,
Pongo King. Leanna blinks.
boy, boy.
That was a long string of poise. We come in peace. We come in poise. Let Leanna do the talking. She seems to be the expert on pongo stuff. I certainly have no idea what's going on. My pongo steps up to the larger pongo and speaks in a series of poise.
Boy. Boy.
The larger pongo seems surprised, then nods.
Boy.
Boy.
He turns around and hops deeper into the forest. My pongo faces us.
Boy.
He tilts his head to indicate the forest, then follows the larger pongo. Should we follow them? Zack shrugs, but Leanna nods.
Yeah, I think we should. At the very least, we can't leave him.
What if he's leading us to danger?
It would seem that the other pongos respect the larger pongo. He may be the equivalent of a king or other authority figure. If he wished us harm, we would already know.
How would the pongos hurt us, I wonder? I mean, they can suck magic, so would they just swarm us and, like, drain our life energy? Could they do that? Because otherwise, they're just like little squishy balls.
Besides, the most harm a pongo can do is cuddle us.
That's kind of what I was wondering, yeah. We better get a move on before we lose them. We follow the pongos further into the forest. Some of the other pongos tag along, popping in and out of the trees. I've never seen so many pongos in one place before. What are they all doing here? Well, it makes sense if there's a high concentration of magical energy in the forest. Eventually, we stop in front of a crumbling stone structure.
Boy.
Is this the Earth Temple, then? The pongo leader nods.
Boy.
Boy.
Was that a
It would
thank
seem
you?
The pongos have escorted us to the temple we seek.
How did they know? Can they understand us?
More than likely, our pongo friend inquired as to the reason for the migration of so many pongos in one area. He must have been curious about their source of energy, which just happens to be the Earth Temple.
Which, by means of coincidence... I narrow my eyes at Amelia. This seems very coincidental. Do you speak Pongo?
No, but that rationale should be common sense.
Zack snorts, then tries to cover it up. I look back at the temple. It clearly hasn't been touched in a long time, and half of it is falling apart. Is it safe to go in there? Kara seems excited.
Only one way to find out.
She marches towards the temple.
But what about the Pongos? Won't they be upset?
Especially considering we intend to absorb the energy.
The temples were built over areas of naturally high concentrations of energy, so the temples continuously amass energy at an accelerated rate.
I mean, and we're not trying to take, like, the temple's energy. We're trying to take the energy of the temple, like, spirit.
Therefore, the amount which we will absorb will be replenished fast enough to not adversely affect the Pongo's ecosystem.
That's good. Why don't people live near these pockets? Why don't people live near these pockets of continuous energy?
The only energy we are able to manipulate is extracted from crystals. This form of energy, which resides in the air, cannot be manipulated or absorbed by humans.
So is there no correlation then between the amount of crystals in an area and the natural amount of energy in an area, like magical energy? Because the temple's here, and we just so happened to pass by a forest so thick with crystals that it had an ethereal glow to it. She pauses.
Humans of Terra, that is. In contrast, Pongos are able to absorb all forms of energy, including airborne.
I see. Either way, it sounds like the Pongos will be okay. Leanna nods and we follow Kara. The Pongos make no move to stop us, but continue to watch us curiously.
Come on!
We approach the temple's entrance. Here we go, guys! Temple number 2 coming up! The temple structure, at least what remains of it, reminds me of the one from the Fire Temple. It's built with an open front, and I can see where the altars may have stood in the past. Now it's just weathered stone. The columns are still holding up, but I watch them precariously, untrusting of their stability. Vibrant green moss camouflages the gray stones. I have to admit, the view is quite impressive. Kara takes the lead and steps carefully on the stones, obviously testing for traps. The rest of us hang back and let her explore without distraction. Leanna holds onto the Pongo, who seems eager to explore with Kara. After circling through the temple, she returns to us, perplexed.
Based on the design of the Fire Temple, I figured the Earth Temple would have more traps. Or even just one trap.
I was gonna ask.
But I found 0.
Then we should definitely stay on our guard.
Are you doubting my abilities?
No! I just meant...
Kara giggles.
I know. I'm just teasing.
Zack grumbles and crosses his arms. Amelia steps up to the temple and starts to have a careful look around. The rest of us slowly filter in too. The Pongo hops out of Leanna's arms and bounces excitedly into the temple. Amy now fidgets with her manipulator, much to the curiosity of Leanna.
What are you checking?
I am searching for any anomalies in these magical readings. The barrier from the last temple resonated a unique signature. If such a thing were to exist here as well, it is highly likely to lead us to the Earth Elemental.
By the way, what's Earth? Kara shakes her head in wonder.
I still can't believe the elementals are real.
I wouldn't jump so fast to that conclusion.
Seriously? Did you forget about our journey to the Fire Temple?
I didn't. But I don't remember me or the rest of you seeing the fire elemental. Except him.
Yup. Zack gives me a pointed look.
He wouldn't have a reason to lie about it.
Exposure to large quantities of magical energy can potentially cause hallucinations. There have been documented cases of such events transpiring.
Maybe that happened then. She's how I absorbed energy. I'm not from here. Anything is possible. Yeah. You have a dude who traveled here through a temporal rift from a parallel world and can directly absorb energy. I'm pretty sure anything is possible.
Fair point.
Amelia looks at her manipulator.
There appears to be a strange pattern regarding energy distribution.
A sudden rumble from above breaks our attention. The rocks shift precariously, then crack and come crashing down above me. Oh no! Leanna tackles us both out of the way, just as the rock smashes down, leaving a heavy split in the stones on the ground. I land hard and my body erupts in aches.
Are you okay?
Leanna props herself up on top of me and peers down with a worried look.
Sorry. I channeled my wind energy into reaching you in time, and I didn't even think about softening the landing.
Yeah, really hurt. I stare at her. You just saved my life, and you're apologizing over something like that? Leanna looks a little surprised, but then she lets out a smile. Are you okay?
Yeah, thankfully the brunt of my fall was broken by...
Me. Her voice trails off and her cheeks redden when she realizes she's straddling me. She quickly picks herself up. Aw, I actually didn't mind us being like that. I wince as I carefully push myself to my feet. Leanna's attention is on the mountain of rock, sectioning us off from the rest of the team.
Hey, can you guys hear us?
Yes, perfectly well! Kara's voice is muted from the other side of the rock wall. No, it's not. We're fine. What happened?
The structure collapsed from the instability of the ruins. I would advise caution moving forward.
It's like, Amelia, could you speak up? Like, they provided a muted sound effect before. Where was that? Was that with the orphans? In the basement? I think it was. I don't remember exactly. But we definitely had a muted kind of thing before. They should have just done that here.
Boy, boy.
The Pongo's voice is very small. Pongo!
Don't worry. He's safe here with us.
Speaking of moving, how are we gonna get these stones moved?
Stand to the side. I'll move them with my magic.
Leanna motions me to move back and I comply. Her gauntlet flickers to life as she channels her wind energy. At first, the rocks refuse to budge, but Leanna keeps trying. Sweat beads on her face as she concentrates, but even after a few more attempts, she's unable to move any of the rocks to break the wall.
I can't seem to move any of the stones.
Maybe this is part of the temple's test. The frustration is evident in her voice. It's weird that she can't move any of the stones at all. I mean, in the fire temple, there was a wall of fire here. Wall of stones. I hear some shuffling on the other end, and I assume it's Amy using her manipulator to scan.
Interesting. It appears these are no ordinary stones. They are shielded with magic.
Cool. What does that mean?
The magic they are shielded with are dampening any other outside magical efforts.
That's not good.
However, in light of this new information, I am able to adjust the type of reading necessary to override the wall's magic block. By doing so, I am able to plot out the navigation of this temple as the ruins emit energy. Based on our current locale, our paths will converge in a short time if we move further in.
Well, alright then. That sounds like a plan to me.
Let's get going then.
Leanna and I look at each other and nod. We start heading in the direction Amy provided. Cue outro, go!